The Chinese market is falling and many people are pointing the finger at Evergrande. Who are they? Why are they struggling financially? And more importantly, what does this mean for the Chinese market moving forward? All your questions answered in this video. First, let's talk about Evergrande as a company. Evergrande, or Hengda in Chinese, is the second largest property firm in China. They own more than 1,300 projects in more than 280 cities across China. Its owner, Xu Jiaying, was once the richest person in the whole of Asia. That's how big the company is. So why is Evergrande in trouble now? To answer that, we have to go back to how Evergrande became such a huge company. Well, they basically borrowed lots of money to expand the company and now can't pay it back. Now, I want to stress that borrowing money to expand your company is very common. Almost all big companies have debt in some form or another. You borrow a sum of money to take on more projects and business. And because more business means more money, you can pay off the interest on your loan. The problem here is Evergrande borrowed too much and overstretched its resources. Apart from being a real estate company, Evergrande also deals with electric vehicles, media production, and even owns a football team. Bad management also played a part. As a property developer, they bid for land at way higher than market price just to win the rights to build. The strategy was to pass the risk to the home buyers and the banks who finance the purchasing of these homes. And after causing house prices to soar, they are now finding out that people are just not buying into their overpriced homes. As a result, it is now $300 billion in debt and is struggling to pay the interest on it. And before you go,
oh, that's just a company in debt. So what?
Here is what can happen or has already happened. Firstly, people who bought properties developed by Evergrande could lose their money. They already paid deposits for their houses, but now Evergrande cannot complete them. And so these people might need to forfeit their deposits. Secondly, the companies that work with Evergrande could also be in trouble. Let's say you are a construction company helping Evergrande build an office building. And because you trust that they would pay you the money, you borrow money to buy your construction materials. Now that Evergrande cannot pay you, you might struggle to pay your suppliers. So this creates a ripple effect. Companies that work with Evergrande face huge stress without the money promised to them. So what does this mean for the Chinese economy? Is Evergrande going to be China's Lehman Brothers? To put things into perspective, Evergrande owes around $155 billion in debt, and it has only $40 billion in assets. So what is going to happen? I'll talk about the best case scenario, worst case scenario, and what I think will happen. Of course, a disclaimer, this is my personal opinion, so use this as just one of your many sources of information. Best case scenario, the Chinese government steps in. This could be in the form of a bailout where they inject cash into Evergrande or they just take over the company. So why is this the best case scenario? That's because investors will have a peace of mind knowing that Evergrande is backed by the Chinese government. The projects can continue and companies can still operate with the knowledge that they will be paid by Evergrande. Is it likely to happen? Unfortunately not. Because if the Chinese government does this, it sends the wrong message. You are basically telling other companies,
hey guys, borrow as much as you want. If you default, we will still help you out.
And that's not a business culture they want to encourage. So what's the worst case scenario? I would say something similar to the Lehman Brothers crisis in America. Evergrande goes bust along with the companies that they work with. Banks will be more strict about lending money and the Chinese economy will go on a downward spiral. And because China is the second largest economy in the world, this will affect everyone else, especially Asia where it has a lot of trades and business dealings. So is the worst case scenario likely to happen? I don't think so. I want to be clear, The Chinese government definitely has enough resources to bail Evergrande out and go for the best case scenario. Will they do it? Honestly, I doubt so. The important question that many people are trying to answer is, what are the short-term losses that the Chinese government is willing to take in order to improve business culture as a whole in China? Because there will be short-term losses, and here is what I think will happen. I think, and I stress again, this is my personal opinion, that the Chinese government will stop the rot somewhere in the middle. Evergrande still has to pay whatever they owe, but the projects will be allowed to be completed. This is to allow companies that Evergrande works with to stay afloat and the people who bought houses from Evergrande to keep them. The Chinese government have seen how the Lehman Brothers crisis in America pan out. I think it will be quite foolish to allow the same thing to happen to them. And with the 20th Party Congress happening next year, how Xi Jinping handled this will play a huge part in whether he remains in power. So what does this mean for you as an investor? For the short term, do expect lots of volatility, especially when lots of things haven't been concluded. For the long term, I personally will take advantage of the low prices. Buy low, sell high. And to quote Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. What are your thoughts about the Evergrande Saga? Do let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, remember to drop a like and subscribe to see more videos just like this.